Jake, Peter, I don't know if we've met. You're from the Big Chicken Chorus?
I am. I'm down here in Johns Creek, about 2 miles from Jake.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, well, cool. How long have you been singing with Big Chicken Chorus?
This is my 8th
Okay.
year.
Do you know I sang with them from 94 to 96 when some guy named Clay Hine was directing.
Sure.
And most recently, until the pandemic, right before, I sang with AVP. I drove down from Chattanooga and sang with them.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah.
I sang with them in Orlando in 2018 when we sang with Harold's, and then sang some with them in 2019. But Clay's been a friend that long.
Terrific.
His dad was a great friend as well. But yeah, well, good. So how long have you been doing music VP?
I've been a VP on the board about 3 years now.
Okay, cool.
Okay. 3 years. Last year I was responsible for the Christmas show, and typically the shows with Shelby. Well, Shelby, he left, and last year I worked with Lars to put on the Christmas show.
Yeah, I knew Shelby known Shelby a long time too. And Lars, y'all looking for a director now too, right?
Well, we're sort of in a holding pattern right now. We have an interim director, and
Is that Ben?
yeah.
Good.
Great. Yeah.
Well, Jake, I guess you know Peter as well, but you are with North Georgia. How long you been doing the music VP?
This will be my 3rd year, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I can email you guys after it's over, just kind of guide our thoughts. But at any point, if you have a question or something that's maybe related, but you don't think this is all open discussion. I don't know if you've got a timer in the upper right corner of your screen till the first break, but that tells you how. So when we get inside of a minute or two, we'll probably have to curtail our discussion and write something down if we need to come back at a certain point. I'm going to try to share my PowerPoint with you, and let's see what happens. I'm going to start that. I'm going to go to presenter view, and then I'm going to go back to presenter view, and then I'm going to go back to Zoom and see if it will let me share my screen. And I'm going to share PowerPoint. I don't have any. So can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So here's kind of what we're going to do today. We've done the introductions. We're going to look at a chapter mission statement. We're going to look at your music leadership team. We're going to look at you working together with your chorus director. That's not a CD you listen to. That stands for chorus director. Talk about planning, just general planning and the specific budgeting for things. Recruiting, orientation, and retention. Some of this stuff is going to be geared toward when we get back to more sense of normalcy, but some of it will work now. And then chapter meeting is mostly geared for when you have a chapter meeting, but there's some ideas we may can incorporate from our Zoom discussions as well. So just keep your mics unmuted because that's so I can hear. So if we've talked about how many guys so have you guys just been doing Zoom meetings?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many have you had on your Zoom meetings?
We average about 18.
Okay.
Which is pretty much all of our active members right now.
Okay. What about you, Pete?
25 to 40, depending upon the week.
Okay. And that's most of your guys too, isn't it? Don't y'all have about 40 or 50 on roster?
Yeah, that's right. It has been, pretty full.
Good. Well, that's good. As for this time last year, I was finalizing becoming the director of Choo Choo Chorus, and actually started that we're going to start it after the spring convention, which didn't happen.
Mhm.
So we started Zooming in April, but we've actually been meeting in person most
Oh,
of
really?
the most of the fall, maybe since September. Guys that felt comfortable. We meet in a fellowship hall of a funeral home, spread out. We have about we've had as many as 16 in the building and another 10 or 12 on Zoom. They had struggled before to get 20 together at a time. So we feel really good about the guys that are meeting. We do mask, we do check temps when they come in, do hand sanitizer. We actually did a couple of sing outs at some senior facility. Well, one was a senior facility, one was just in public and in Collegedale, which is just right up the road. And we did sing in mask. Now I was not able to direct those because I was still recovering from COVID, but Paul Blazek did direct them, and I heard it went really well. So we've kind of we had guys that wanted to do that, and I said, yeah, we'll do that. And so we our last meeting before the sing out, we had on risers spread out with mask, and it actually sounded pretty good. So
Great.
Pete, you said you've been in your have you been in your chapter? How long you been barbershopping?
8 years.
Okay.
I've been with Big Chicken with Lars the whole time.
What about you, Jake?
I'm sorry, say again?
How long have you been barbershopping or in a barbershop?
Since 1997?
Okay.
Well, officially, but I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up with it.
Yeah, I did too. Our high school choral teacher did. She found barbershop music in Alabama. I graduated in '81, but for those 4 to 6 years before that, we had sung quartet music in our high school. We had some dealer's choice music and some other things, and so we actually got to sing on the Dixie District stage in our senior year and junior year back in '80 and '81, which was really cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm a third generation barbershopper.
Cool.
And I mean, I have actually seen the Buffalo Bills on stage and met the gay notes in person.
Great. Great.
But I
So
was almost too young
yeah,
to remember it.
I think my membership card has 22 years on it. I directed the Fort Walton Beach chapter from 1990 to 94 and directed the Birmingham chapter 08, 09, 10 to 11 before we moved to Chattanooga in 2012.
Yeah, I'm just looking up what does my 22 years is what it says.
Yeah, that's what mine says. So do you guys have, under most circumstances, do you have an active music team?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
When we had a director, yes.
Okay. And
We lost our director soon before all this happened, and started on a search. Vern has as assistant director has stepped up into the position.
was Kathy the last one?
Kathy was the last one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. So before the pandemic, I know you guys did shows. I know I've seen Big Chicken in contest. When's the last time North Georgia sang in contest? Do you remember, Jake?
Contest was with Kathy in the fall
Okay.
of 2019.
Okay, that's what I thought. Do y'all do community stuff still, or were you doing community stuff?
We were, yes. It started to tail off a little bit, but you know, it was still an active part of what we do.
Sure.
We did a Christmas show in 2019 as well.
Good.
And that was the last performance we ever did so far. And yeah, we're always well received, but you know, I have lots of doubts as to how much of that we're going to be able to do, only because I don't know that the audience will be there.
Yeah, you just never know what this year's going to hold. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys hope to take away from this time together?
Yeah, you know, our meetings have gotten very, I won't say stale, but routine.
Okay.
we've been meeting in Zoom since March. The last half of March we started, and we filled up a lot of our summer with guests, and no real singing or anything like that because we had some terrific guests.
One of them wasn't so good, but
Well, yeah, but we're going to pass over that. And so the last several since middle of November, I guess, since Thanksgiving, we've just sort of been trying to bring back the repertoire music and keep some singing in the chapter meeting.
okay.
But with no clear end date to this, there isn't really singing. It's really just sort of listening and singing along to the learning tracks, which is great. It's better than nothing, and probably more than 90% of the people do. It's more about the socializing.
Sure. What about you, Pete? What do you hope to take away from?
Well, as my good friend just said, yes, that's true. We've been doing the same thing since the end of March. Of course, Lars did his version one way, and Ben is very similar, but has some additional distinctions. And for what it is, I think it's great. I mean, after all, we get to read music. Unfortunately, we can't hear each other, and we can't really blend in harmony. So,
Yeah,
we did meet several times in the East Cobb Park underneath a pavilion over the last 6 months. Like once a month until it got cold. So yeah, I'm just here to brainstorm with you guys. What can I bring to our rehearsals? For instance, every Monday night from 7 to 8:30, we have rehearsals, and we fill up the whole hour and a half. And everybody gets to socialize and rehearse. And I think we've been doing a great job holding everybody's attention. But, as Jake said, how long is it going to go on for? We don't know. In our particular case with Lars and the Marietta High School, we separated. We have moved into a local arts center we have permission to move into an arts center in East Cobb, which is a smaller facility, but it does have an outdoor theater in the amphitheater. So what I'm hoping to do is get us back on our feet. Well, listen to this, Jimmy. We bought about 40 microphones, and we're going to start rehearsing at the Art Center in the parking lot with microphones that feed into a mix and come back through your FM radio.
That was one of the things I was going to see if you guys had investigated. What did your microphones cost you?
About $40
a piece?
I think. No, they might have been closer to 60, 65. I'm sorry. I wasn't on the purchase.
No, that's fine. A piece, you bought those a piece?
Yeah. All of them, yeah.
Did individual people buy them?
We bought them as, I think he bought 25 of them last week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
So we're kind of looking forward to that. I haven't heard anybody else talk about that type of a thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of chapters that did that, and I think it kind of spread. And let's come back to that later when we get down to the thing, and let's see if we can cover a couple of these topics before the first break. It says we got 35 minutes, which is fine. It should be plenty of time. So let's look at the chapter mission statement. First of all, do you guys have a chapter mission statement?
Not that I'm aware.
No.
Okay, so this is actually, I think, a great time to try to develop one, because it will help focus your direction on who you want to be your next director. Because if you, let's say where your chapter wants to go, and you hire a director that wants to go this way, it's going to make it very difficult. One of the things that's important about a chapter mission statement is that it clearly defines your goals as a chapter. And part of that needs to be written down so that it's clear and everybody understands it. It includes your musical objectives of the membership. And so if it's not written down and not discussed and not talked about, then everybody may have a different idea of what that is, but if it's not stated, it may get confusing. So I think for both of your guys' chapters particularly, this is a great time to try to develop a chapter goal. What do we want to do? Get as many, maybe take your next 2 Zoom meetings and say, we're going to develop chapter goals. I mean, this is a great time because you're not pressured to get contest songs ready for March. You're not working on a show. I mean, this is a great time to develop those musical objectives if and when we're to get back together as a chapter. What do we want that to look like? It needs to be supported by the members, by all the committees, by the board. Then it needs to be published and prominently displayed so that everybody knows it, and it works as a guide for your music team. Let's say part of your goal is to perform once a month in the community when that becomes possible. Well, that's going to determine how vigorous you work on your repertoire. If you've got to keep it polished, then that's going to determine the amount of time you spend. If you do say once a quarter, then that's going to change a little bit. Does that make sense? And so you want to publish it, you want to talk about it, clearly define it, and then from there, like let's say you got some hotshot director who moves into the Atlanta area. Right now, Big Chicken's looking for a director. North Georgia's looking for a director. Before the pandemic, Clay was going to resign from AVP. They were going to be looking for a director. That's 3 chapters within a fairly small radius of each other.
Yeah.
We're going to be without directors. But knowing those 3 chapters, I think they would be looking for 3 different kinds of directors, right?
Yep.
But unless that's clear, I mean, it just needs to be clearly stated and written down so that you guys can move together with that and spend a little time, go to your board and say, hey guys, we need to, as a board, we need to sit down and do this. Let's get the membership involved. I would say with 40 guys for Big Chicken, you guys probably need to have a focus group, whether it's the board or a smaller focus group, to develop these things and then bring it before the chapter. So I can't stress that enough. It eliminates, honestly, Pete, going back to what I'm aware of, I don't know everything, but what I'm aware of happened with Big Chicken. You mentioned the previous music VP, I won't say their name again, but part of that is lack of clarity on where everybody wants to be and what we're supposed to do. Does that make sense?
So let me just, again, I'm relatively new to this and I have been on the board for several years and this is like a dog chasing its tail, which one, some people want to go to contests, some people don't. Some people want to do this, some people don't. And, I feel personally like this is like, it's like trying to chase cats,
Well, here's what you could do, Pete. That one issue, those are 2 issues, and it really comes down to the difference between a chapter and a chorus. All of us are part of a chapter. In that chapter is our chorus. And some chapters define their social gatherings as chapter meetings with a chorus rehearsal as part of that meeting or that gathering. Other chapters, probably the vocal majority, Alexandria Harmonizers, all those, they have a chorus meeting that involves the chapter. Do you see the difference? That's why as a chorus, as a chapter, you need to define what that goal is for your chapter. And as far as are we going to compete or not, within your chorus, you could have the overall chapter course, and then you could pull, if there's 25 guys out of those 40 or 50 guys that want to compete, well, have a competing chorus. Have those guys have a competing chorus. They either come 30 minutes early on rehearsal night when we get back together. They may stay 30 minutes late. You may structure your chapter meetings where you have your chorus, business chorus, and then you just take the last 30 minutes for those who want to be a part of the contest or the competing chorus. And you can structure your chapter that way. But if there's goals there, then you don't have the constant chasing of the tail. Well, I want to compete. Well, I don't want to compete. Well, I want to do this. If it's clearly written out, it kind of minimizes some of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's what part of that goal setting can do. You may have, like I've known choruses that may have 100 guys, but only send 30 to competition. That's okay. It doesn't take, I mean, you can compete with 12 to 15 guys. We've seen it done. And so there's all kind of things you can do in the context of, but what you want to do is get everybody together so that you eliminate those disagreements, because they're always going to happen. But if they come back down, if everybody can say, look, here's our goal. Our goal is to have awesome chapter meetings. As part of that will be a competition chorus. It won't be the whole chapter. It'll be this section of the chorus. And so it kind of eliminates, those guys can go woodshed or tag or whatever they want to do during that time. But if it's clearly defined as part of your chapter, then not as many guys get upset. What's up, Mr. Davenport? We are solving the world's problems in the chapters. That's what we are called to do.
I'm just along for the ride.
Well, it's just like being part of a deacon's meeting, you know, everybody's got an opinion. So, but we're good. So let's go to the next thing then. So music leadership team, you guys, Big Chicken in North Georgia, do you have clearly defined music leadership teams, or did you before this pandemic thing?
We do. We still do.
Okay, good. What about you,
Ray
Jake?
Taylor's taken.
Yeah, I mean, we have a formal team, and you know, we meet on a semi-regular basis. It tends to be, you know, in the last 9 months, it's been sort of oriented around what are we doing this week, as opposed to what are we doing 3 years from now.
Well, and it's again, going back to the goals. If you have it right now is a great time to build a music leadership team. Both of you guys are looking for directors. I would say when a director comes in, give him some flexibility. If he says, you know, I know this guy, I really prefer him to be the lead section leader, give some flexibility there. But,
Yeah.
but as a director coming in, it really is good. It would be good to come into a fully organized music leadership team. And so let's just go through that. Obviously, the benefits of that are planning and goals, chapter meeting, to make sure, again, we're going to get to specifics on Zoom meetings because they're completely different. Developing talent. I would say if you've got a lead section leader, have them constantly be looking for somebody to replace them that can make a good section leader. Don't just be, well, I do my job very well. Well, none of us are going to be here forever. Some of us were reminded of that last month. I mean, one of the great skills of leadership is duplicating yourself. In 35 years of ministry, this has been the first church that we've served that's been really hard. Right now, I've not been able to develop the same level of talent that we've been able to do at other places, and it's very difficult. When I was out, I had to miss a Sunday. It makes it hard because I don't have the same kind of leadership we've had in other spots. So especially this time without a director, developing this team, developing talent. You're also responsible for the music quality that you want to put out. Don't let that burden just lay on the director, so that when the director says, I want this, and that guy that complains about everything says, I don't think we ought to do that, then as a music team, you can support your director. Okay. And that's very important, is making sure you're on the same page with that. And then you are responsible for membership retention. It's not just a membership VP thing, because a lot of times it does. Part of the reason we lose members is the music. Either it's not their style or not their whatever. And so as the music team, it's our job to make sure we have appealing meetings, but then the follow up on that, get feedback from a visitor. Hey, did our meeting move fast enough? I mean, I've come into choruses as a new director before where they said, man, it seemed like previously it seemed like the hour took 3 hours, and now it seems like it takes 30 minutes and it's gone. That's a music team desire as well. Can we make our meetings where guys attend, but they want to come back? And so that's part of our membership retention. So the 4 C's that you can do to as a music leadership team, and then as a chapter as well: caring, consistency, cooperation, and communication. Part of the thing that of those, I don't know which one of those is more important, because as you've heard, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. So caring is listed first, but consistency is important as well, doing things the same way, because if you don't have consistency, then they begin to question sometimes your character. Cooperation, how well do you work together? And then if you do all those 3 things and don't communicate, it doesn't matter. I had a guy tell me years ago when I was trying to learn how to be better at whatever it was. I think he was trying to help me in youth ministry before the Lord delivered me of that. He said, oh, I remember the day, but he said, you've never truly been thankful until you've taken the time to express your thankfulness. So you can care, but they don't know that you care until you communicate that. And so communication is a big part of it. Most people that I spend a lot of time with know that I will not go down as a great communicator. And so it's something I have to work on a lot to try to get better. But just work on that. And there is a music leadership team manual available from the society. I don't know if you guys have that. There's a lot of great things in there. At one time, it was a free download. I don't know if it still is. Bob, you may know the answer to that. But
There should be, yeah.
at one time, it was a free download. It would be in your membership section of you have to go into the membership section and then find that material. I think I have it downloaded. If after this is over, you need it, send me an email and I'll send it to you. So let's look at some of the positions. Obviously, small chapter stuff would be in bold, I think, as a minimum. All these other things. I remember back in the mid-90s, Pete, singing with Big Chicken, we had every one of these guys. But obviously your position, chorus director, section leaders, chorus manager, program VP, and librarian. But then assistant director, some choruses like the Heralds and even AVP have vocal coaches as part of their chorus. Presentation coaches, they have them. Row captains, contest coordinator, wardrobe manager, anything that will help your chapter. One thing that will help also membership retention is giving a guy a job. He'll want to stay around a long time. I remember getting a bag with my number and my name on it, a makeup bag in '95 to go to Miami to sing with the Big Chicken Chorus. And I thought, oh, I got a makeup bag. I thought, I don't know if I need to tell my wife about this. But y'all, you guys have been barbershoppers long enough remembering where we used to wear makeup all the time.
Yeah.
Now we don't. I don't know if it's because we don't care or the lighting's gotten better. I really don't know why we made that adjustment, because some of us
Some of us still need it.
well, I was going to say, some of us have a real reflection issue in spots too. But anyway, those are all, and look, be creative. Come up with a position for somebody that's got some leadership skills, music leadership skills. Create a position for them. Put them on something. Let them be the handout music guy or whatever. Assign new music just to help the librarian. Whatever would help. So that's just some leadership team issues, some teams. So what are your qualifications and responsibilities? So if you see any of these that you're not qualified for, you can't quit your position tomorrow. These are just some things. Organizational skills are very important. Y'all know what CDO is?
CDO?
Yeah, it's like OCD, but the letters are in order as they should be. And so
20 minutes.
I'm getting better at ignoring mine, but organizational skills are very important. Communication, always important. Delegation, that's something I have to continue to work on. I'm not real great at. You have to have extra time. Bob mentioned earlier volunteers, and the society would not run and your chapter would not run without volunteers. So it takes extra time to do it, especially you guys right now trying to figure out what makes your Zoom meetings better, because that's something we've never done. Knowing your chapter members. We've got a guy in the Choo Choo Chorus that has trouble finding pitches. He has a great voice, but just spending a little time with him has helped him a lot. But knowing that um, is how I communicate to him is very important, and how you communicate to him as a chapter. Don't just, if a guy comes in and he can't follow pitch, and don't just write him off. Give some time. I had two guys in my first choir 35 years ago that basically they were in the tenor section, but all they did was sing the soprano part an octave lower. They came to me and said, and I mean, I'm 23 years old. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. They came to me and said, we know we're not singing right. Can you help us? So our rehearsals were on Wednesday. Every Tuesday afternoon for months and over a year, I met those guys at the church. We went through all the choir music. They became two really good tenors, two of the best tenors in our church choir, because they wanted to spend the time. But I didn't just write them off, and that's what I'm saying. Um, I have a theory. I've had this theory, and I've yet to be proven wrong, that everybody can sing. Most people want to sing, and it just if they seem like they can't. I mean, my theory is if you can talk, you can sing, because singing is just sustained talking. But it requires time getting to know those guys. It's some important that you have some musical background, but it's not recommended. And then if you were looking for a new guy, I would say 3 years in the society. But if you get a guy that knows what he's doing, that's just kind of a guideline. So here's, we'll just scan this very quickly. Course director duties. You can see all these things. Again, I'll send you the guys this after we get through, but I didn't want you to go all the way through it before we got it. But just,
If I can chime in a second,
sure.
I think that's what happened in Central Alabama chapter when they hired Matt Powell. I'm not sure he had much, if any, barbershop experience, but was willing to learn.
Yeah, and I think that's um, is Matt still I think Matt's still doing that, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, and he has gotten a lot better over the years. And he and I've had a couple of discussions on things that could help him. And so I think just, yeah, don't write anybody off. But I mean, I remember in 91, when the Fort Walton Beach chapter approached me, I'm like, you guys, I ain't never done this before. And that was okay. They sent me to Directors College in 92 in Kenosha. And that helped. That helped a lot. So I think having you guys come to things like this helps, will help your chapter. So again, you can see all those things under the chorus director duties. In your search for a director, these are things you want to kind of have a checklist.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Yep, things you want to. So encouraging quartetting, attend director schools. If your director comes in and has very little barbershop experience, send them to the Harmony University on campus when they have that again. It will greatly impact their life in a positive way. It'll help your chapter. But those are things, when I send this to you, Pete, you can copy them, just the things to look for. Again, if somebody doesn't meet all these qualifications, there's not really qualifications, these are really duties. All music team meetings, supervised craft sessions. These are all things that just kind of inherent in what you want your chorus director to do. So selecting a director, which is very applicable to you guys, there are ways. Do you have a search committee, or did you put together guys looking for that?
We don't actively have one, but we had one. We actually did get a director, but he had to quit before his first performance.
Wow.
And that committee that found him is still active, if you will.
Yeah,
But
both of you guys, somebody from both of your chapters called me, and I had just started doing Choo Choo Chorus, and I really couldn't commit to anything
hey,
else.
we had to cover all bases.
Well, I appreciate that. I really appreciate the invitation. So, Pete, so
The
y'all have a.
invitation's still open, by the way.
I understand. Thank you, Barnabas. Now, son of encouragement. So, Pete, do you guys have a committee or a team of folks?
Yes, I'm in charge of the committee. I happen to be an executive recruiter by profession. And we're taking this one step at a time. I'm working with the board. We just had a meeting with Ben. We're going to decide what to do in the interim. As you clearly pointed out, my goal in all of this is to get a mission statement so that I have something to present with the job description you just outlined. So that's the stage we're in now.
That's good. That's good. And one of the things, I mean, if you ask the guys in your chapter who does the music at their church, if they have a full-time guy or gal that's pretty good and they love them, see what their interest might be in doing some interim work and getting some. I mean, you never know. I had done barbershop in high school, and when I moved to Florida, I realized I was 25 minutes away from a chapter. I started going. Well, I'd been there 6 months, and their director retired, and they looked at me and said, "You know how to do music?" I said, "But not really this." And so, look for some guys that have other musical directors in their life. That's a
I
place
understand.
to look.
Jimmy, this is the problem I've got. I've got Ben, who fortunately has been with the group for 2 or 3 years and knows everybody. He knows everybody. He can look at them in the computer and say he knows what they're capable of. If I bring in a stranger to sit in front of a Zoom, I think I'm downgrading the experience for the guys. Until we can get off our feet.
Yeah. Well, and right now, I'm not sure in the current environment, you can do a whole lot different than what you're doing. This would be.
Right, so I'm going to take your advice and go slow, very slow with it.
Yeah, and going forward, I think Ben's a great guy to have as a resource right now. I think you guys are very fortunate.
Absolutely.
And so, but a lot of these are things as you get, down the road, like make a list of A and B. Who do you want to call? If you're able to develop a list of candidates, and then you got to set up a schedule to audition, bring them in, talk to them, bring them before the chapter. Not before I get even serious, I might have come in as a guest conductor, not as a potential candidate. Because you can look, you'll know. I've had over the years a few people at times say, even since we've been here, "Hey, I'm looking for a church. Can I come to choir rehearsal?" I'm like, "Sure." They said, "If I can't be a part of the choir and sit through one of your rehearsals, I'm not even going to consider coming to church there." I'm like, "Well, I'm not sure that's real spiritual, but I do understand what they mean, because if their main ministry of focus is going to be involved in the choir." Like before we've gone to a church, before we moved here, I said, "Send me videos of your pastor preaching." And hey, David, how are you, sir? Your mic's unmuted. Still unmuted. It's okay. There you
How's
go.
that?
There you go. Perfect. Welcome. We're in the middle of searching
Hey, Dave.
for a director. So let me finish this story if I remember it. And like before we moved here, I said, "Send me videos of your pastor preaching, because if it's not biblical and I can't let my family sit under it, then why should I even consider coming to be on staff there?" Right. And so if you guys know somebody comes in and they're not going to lead your chapter effectively, then you probably won't consider that process. So let me put a pause on here. Welcome, David. David, what chapter are you with?
I'm with Stone Mountain Course. I'm sorry I'm late. I had
That's okay.
had a conflict this morning with another meeting I had to attend, so I just got back and hopped on.
That's
What
great.
is the score of the football game?
It wasn't a football game. It was a meeting at church.
Oh, great. What church?
Peachtree Corners Baptist.
Cool. Who's the pastor there?
Jay Hackett.
Okay, I think I used to know years ago. Anyway, we were just talking about Ben McDaniel as
Yeah.
well, and I think he's helping out Big Chicken too. So How many guys are you having? Are you doing Zoom meetings, David?
We are doing Zoom meetings right now. And generally we're getting maybe about a dozen
Okay.
on the Zoom meetings.
How many have you been having in person before this?
In person, probably high teens, low 20s.
Okay.
So it's dropped off from Zoom meetings, although I
Yeah,
still go and I still get a lot out of it. I mean, it's the best we can do right now, right?
sure. It's really, things are really different right now. That's making it difficult for everybody. Um, and so welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let's go. We are again talking about audition schedule, but then at some point you'd want to do an informal agreement with this person, notify everybody else. And then I would stress the importance of a contract and written again. So again, this contract would include your mission statement, your chapter goals. Um, if we're just going to be a chapter that stands around in woodsheds, but we need somebody to lead that, that's a different contract. Then we hope to win the Dixie District championship and go represent the Dixie District at international if that ever happens again. That's a different level, but that needs to be clearly communicated with a potential director, right? And if a director comes in expecting your chapter that wants to stand around in the woodshed to represent the district at a national contest, you're gonna have a major conflict, right?
Yeah.
All right, any questions there before we move on? I got about 7 minutes before this first break. But we are moving
Nope.
right along. If we run out of material before we run out of time, I'm fine with that. We don't have to go the whole time. So in our classes that we've had in person the last couple of years, we got through way through for everybody else because all the guys usually listen fast. So you guys are good, fast listeners. So let's go to program VP and coordinating with that. Part of the music team, usually the program VP is a separate person, but they need to work well with the chorus director and your position of music VP. David, how long you been doing music VP?
Well, I'm actually more the program VP
Okay,
actually,
cool.
but you know, I do work with our director on, you know, setting the schedule, the weekly
Who
schedule and what we're doing and those sorts of things. So
who's your music VP right now too? Do you have one?
um, yeah, I believe that's Dave Nador, I believe.
Okay,
I have to
cool.
check and see.
That's fine. So you the program VP needs to organize, make sure the chapter meetings flow well. Works closely with the course director and the music VP.
Mhm.
And again, going back to the goals, okay, the program VP needs to know those goals so he can make sure the chapter meetings are always directed for that. So back to communication, you want to make sure that you're communicating that consistently. And if, say, one night it doesn't go that well, come back and say, let's focus on our goals. Here's what we want to do. Like if a goal is to develop more quartets, then the chapter meeting is probably going to have some woodshedding involved or tag time or guys coming up and singing as a quartet. There's going to be a bigger emphasis on that. Does that make sense? So, but the purpose of the program VP is to put the music team plan into action each week. That's why you got to communicate and to establish that schedule weekly. And again, a lot of this is in building meetings to sock away for whenever that happens. But it's also important to keep that focus in the Zoom meetings. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, that right now coming up with creative ideas on Zoom is very difficult over time. How do you make it exciting? One of the things AVP did, even last this past Thursday night, I did not go because I was at our rehearsal, but they brought in a guy. He's the tenor in Pratt Street Power Quartet. He led their warm up on Zoom. So just something like that. I know North Georgia's had guests on their Zoom.
You had a guest.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Our district had Marty Munson and what's the guy that's over the Harmony Foundation, Perry White. You'd be surprised right now if you didn't ever think you could get an international gold medalist to your chapter, you can get them on Zoom. I mean, now's a great time to get exposure to guys that you thought, well, they're not, number one, they're not going to drive to Chattanooga for a chapter meeting, but they'll come to a Zoom. They can dial in on a Zoom meeting. And so a lot of chapters are getting a lot of exposure, but the program VP and the music VP work together closely to make all of that happen. So again, the weekly schedule would be coordinated, but you got to have a list of requirements and support. What's it going to take? So again, things that chapters have done if you focus on quartetting. And again, I think the more guys you can get to sing in a quartet, this is just my opinion, the better your chapter will be because it forces guys to listen. So you may have a tag, like a part of a song that maybe your chorus is having difficult with. Line guys up who are willing, maybe 2 or 3 deep at each part, and have the first 4 guys sing that section, and then tag out with the guy behind them. Have them sing a little bit, swap out, and then they kind of rotate. And so you get the opportunity to sing with different guys, plus you put different guys up. And we did this, David, I told them earlier, our chapter actually has been meeting some on site, some by Zoom since early fall. And we did this the other night with one of our last meetings. We sang a tag and had guys who were interested spread out a little bit. And they sang it and I said, okay, now you go. And it was really neat to hear the different combination of guys. And I think it made all those guys feel a little more confident. They knew they were not being critiqued. And so anything you can do like that helps individuals ultimately helps your chapter. So one of the things you may do on Zoom right now is have a lead section meeting or a small group meeting, guys that feel comfortable singing with each other, and say, hey, Jake, would you sing the chorus of this song for us, please? You can check words and notes that way. You can check pitch. You can check, like, let your director or whoever have a quick voice placement or a personal voice instruction. Hey, Jake, you were a little flat on that note in measure 4, or if you'll give this a little lift, some of those things, and then do that with 3 or 4 guys. And like have a breakout section in your chapter Zoom meetings where you have sectionals and say, hey, I know we don't normally, or play the learning track of the lead learning track, have a baritone sing along with it and say, oh, look, that sounded great. Here's some things you can work on. Always start with the positive, but then maybe a couple of things for improvement. And that may be a way to spice up your meetings a little bit differently with on Zoom as well. And obviously the program VP needs excellent planning skills and a likable personality. Any questions about that? I've got 30 seconds before our first design break, and I think it automatically will kick us back to the main room. This would be a great time for you guys to use the restroom if you need to, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we will be back in, I think, about 10 minutes or so. All right.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks, David.
guys. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be looking for you to come back now.
Zoom window better still be open, right?
Let's hope so. Let's hope. Thanks for helping me remember that. Y'all shot right out there with that one, didn't you? Let's see if I can get this back on. Can you guys see that now?
Yep.
That's where
Yes.
we left off. And I think we are recording. So the next thing is we looked at music leadership team, let's look at the vice president, you and the chorus director working together. Okay. And again, this would be great insight as you look to the future of getting a chorus director for those of you that are, to kind of know, is this a person you can work with? Spend a little time outside of class, go take them to lunch, go whatever, when all that's an option, so that you can see this, if you can work with a person. So vice president, music VP is an elected voting member of the board. He's kind of like the athletic director, music program administrator and direct link between the board and the music team. And again, going back to the 4 C's we talked about earlier, David, I'll send you this PowerPoint presentation after we get through today. That communication between the board and the music team falls squarely on your shoulders. And so whether it's program VP or music VP, just because the board may think one thing and you got to make sure everybody's in agreement. Course directors typically hired or appointed by the board. He's like the head coach. And there needs to be some sense of accountability. He's typically accountable for music teaching and performance. And there's accountability to the music team and the board. And again, going back to clearly stated chapter goals and director contract, if that's all enumerated, spelled out, then there's no discussion. If the director says, well, I'm going to do it this way, well, that's not what we agreed to. And so if you can change the agreement, that's different. But so anyway, that's kind of his position. And then these two are primarily responsible for the total chapter music program. Fortunately for me, as director of the Choo Choo Chorus, the guy who's our music VP is also in my choir at church. So that works out really good because we see each other. Our church has been doing on campus since Memorial Day weekend in a spread out kind of way. We've had vocal teams, and we actually added our church choir back in the fall, spread out in the sanctuary. And if you guys are remotely interested, I can send you the YouTube channel link for some of that. Some of it's very amusing to me. But anyway, so that's you guys are responsible for the music leadership of the chapter. So that should be clear as mud. So here's some things that make this relationship better. Mutual respect is important. That is very important for you also, how you communicate that respect and sometimes lack thereof with the rest of your chapter members. And let me give you a personal example. I served a church. Most of the pastors that I've served as music worship leader, music, whatever you call it, what I've done for 35 years. Most of them, I've been 100% agreement. I had one pastor that we just it was not easy to work together. And he and I had a lot of discussions in his office about things that we disagreed on, but nobody in the church knew about that. Because as my position required, submitting to his leadership in a respectful way, it was very important. So when people would come to me about something they thought he was or wasn't doing, I said, we can meet with him at a certain time. And we went directly and met with him. When somebody from your chapter comes and says, well, I don't know why he's doing that. Either you can say, because you know him well, here's why. I know his heart or her heart, and I know why they're doing that. Or let's go talk to them about that. It minimizes chorus factions, building up, whatever. And when there's mutual respect, and here's what I know. You guys live all in the metro Atlanta area, right? Tell me your best drive-through experience in the Atlanta area. What's your best drive-through experience? What's the best?
Chick-fil-A.
David, what would you say?
Yeah, probably Chick-fil-A too.
Okay. Pete, same thing or something different?
McDonald's.
Yes. Are you being funny or here's the thing. Does Chick-fil-A get it right every time? No. But you trust, there's an inherent trust for some reason with Chick-fil-A that if it's not right, they'll make it right. They'll fix it. It's because you trust their leadership. I don't, that's the way it is here. I don't trust Burger King's leadership, Taco Bell. I expect to have that to go wrong, and they usually meet my expectations. That's a leadership.
Oh, I see.
That's a leadership thing. We had a guy 25 years ago in our church in Rome, Georgia. The Taco Bell there was awful. He literally had his family in the car one time, pulled up to the drive-through window and said, "Give me $10 worth." And the lady said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, give me $10 worth." He said, "Sir, I don't understand." He said, "Look, I've got a wife, a couple of kids. We like tacos, burritos. We'll need 4 drinks and I need about," she said, "Sir, I don't understand." He said, "Look, every time I come through here and order, y'all never get it right. And it usually costs me about $10. So why don't you just put $10 of whatever you want to in the bag?" And the point is he just got to where he just expected that. If you don't trust your course director or if there's not mutual respect, then things are going to begin to spiral out of control. At the moment that becomes diminished, go to them and fix it, make it right, because it's so vital to the direction and health of the chapter. If you go to a healthy chapter initiative, I don't know if they talk about this. I think they should, because if this is lacking, the director becomes like a lame duck. He can't lead, can't be effective. So understand each other's responsibilities, know what the director is responsible for, know what you're responsible for, know what you're supposed to do. Don't do his responsibilities. Don't make him do yours. If there's things you need to do, allow each other to flow in those so that they feel comfortable. One of the challenges I've had a couple of times going to church and the previous music director staying in the choir. I feel perfectly fine with that. It doesn't threaten me at all. Choo Choo Chorus. I told Blazik, he directed them 35 years, 40 years, a long time. I said, "Man, I'm not going to, unless you're my bass section leader, I'm not going to consider it because I want him to stay around." But he don't need to run the chapter either, right? He doesn't need to, but I asked him to anyway, knowing each other's responsibilities, exercising in those and being free to do those is what makes a healthy chapter in this area. Maintaining, again, there's that word communication, constant communication. If something doesn't seem right, let's make it seem right. And perception is vitally important in that. How you communicate, the perceivedness of it. One of the things we heard a coach say years ago, when you're trying to coach a quartet or chorus, don't say "good job" with your mouth, but "that sucked" with your eyes, right? And so how you communicate, "Well, our chorus director wants us to do this," is different than "our chorus director, here's what he wants from us here," right? And how you do that is important, and maintaining that constant communication between the two of you helps that. And then focus on the day, but work on tomorrow's goals. The biggest challenge I think facing our chapters right now, you guys mentioned it in the beginning, is what to do during this time. What drives that? Tell your director, one of the things I pulled up a while ago, and I don't know if I can show this with you now. Did my screen change? I can't hear you. Jake, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it flashed, but you're back to the PowerPoint.
Okay, let me see if I can get to this website here. I want to show you guys that get some good ideas. It really is just a place where you can go. It's called Chorus Connection. And then this is the blog page. They have, and I was looking for a place to search a while ago. I didn't see it. You may can find it, but if you go to Chorus Connection, and you see at Peer Blog, then they take us through articles that are really good, especially during this time. What can and there's some things on here that I don't always agree with, but there's some really great ideas. A lot of these people are barbershoppers. A lot of them are not. They've got community choruses, church choruses are here. 10 ways you can connect with your chorus to plan your next virtual choir project. Just if you scroll down, again, they've had early on, as far as last year, that's why I was looking for a search place. They had specific ideas for Zoom, to Zoom ideas. 10 ways you can use your course connection. I said that, but just scroll through here. It looks for ideas, successful fundraising during this time, older post. There may be a way to search, but anyway, I found it to be a great resource. And so it's just something that might help give ideas to your director, or to your leadership team, to yourself, whatever. But so focus on today, work toward tomorrow's goals, whatever those be. So again, let each other do his job. You're the administrator, you're the organizer. You need to provide administrative, logistic support to the music team that allows the team to run the music program along with the program VP and how that's implemented. You carry the message to the board and sells it. What if the director, like our music VP at Choo Choo is Jim Frank. He and I sat down and developed a budget for 2021. We looked at adding a minimum of 4 to 5 songs to our repertoire this year, and what would that cost? And we came up with a budget of $2,000. I don't know what their budget had been. And he took that to the board and they approved it. So he must have done a really good job of communicating that to the board. And that's your job. Just carry those things to the board, be a good salesman, sell it to them. Again, it's musical acumen is important, but it's not the most important thing. And you should not try to run the chapter music program. Let that be the director. You need to implement, come alongside, assist. I've known music VPs that have actually been also the assistant director. That's fine, but it's still the director's task to carry out the music part of the chapter. So again, that bottom one is vitally important. You should not allow the board to dictate the music aspect of the chapter. If you hire the right director and trust their leadership, going back to the mutual respect, then trust that. If that doesn't look like you thought it would, have another conversation, but don't get to where you got a few guys in the chapter or board trying to run the music aspect of the program. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
that can make it very difficult. And as an outsider, you can tell that sometimes when a chorus is not functioning well and not healthy in that respect.
That's
Okay.
actually how we lost our last director.
Yeah, I can see that. Knowing some of the dynamics there of the director and some of the guys in your chapter, and that's fine. But again, if you hire the right director and that's established up front, then when ideas are different, if you go back to communication, hopefully a mutual ground can be obtained. But if not, that usually results in losing your director. And that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
And so a director needs to have a certain sense of thick skin as well. And that sometimes can, because as musicians, we are oftentimes emotional and oftentimes respond emotionally when we don't need to. And the artistry part of who we are can run our emotional part. And so one of the things that for me years and years ago, that people here at church, one of my least favorite things I like to hear on Sunday is the music was really good today. Now, I think what they mean is it really blessed them or meant something special to them. What I hear was, oh, it sucked the last 3 weeks, right? Oh, it was what I heard was, oh, it's good today. And so they don't mean it that way, but years ago I developed a thicker skin about all that so that that kind of stuff, I laugh about it now. We've got one of our guys in the church now every Sunday, even if he was in the parking lot doing security detail, he'd come up and say, man, I enjoyed the music today. So he tells me every Sunday because he knows it's one of my things. But it's just, as a director, you got to have a little thick skin because it's okay. Music we take personally, but oftentimes comments about music shouldn't be taken personally, right? And that's hard. And Jack, I know that's got to be hard. And I hope you guys, all of you guys, Big Chicken and North Georgia, find a really great director. Um, Choo Choo was without, I think Huntsville or Athens one is without. You two guys are without. Seems to always be looking. We've got 5 or 6 chapters in our district that are looking for directors. That's one of the things DC's having a hard time trying to develop directors. And so help them if you can. Here's some other things. You to procure music and learning tracks. Do you guys use learning tracks consistently?
Yeah. Our chapter requires them.
Good.
That,
Do you-
I mean, not that it's a requirement, it's just the men don't learn without them.
Right, I got you. Do you
Yeah.
spend a lot of time before the pandemic? Did you spend a lot of time on notes and words in the rehearsals?
When necessary, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But you didn't spend a lot of time plucking out notes?
No,
Or
you know,
only
that
as needed.
we would do that only in the section rehearsals.
Okay.
You know, the section leaders were responsible for making sure that their guys knew the notes and the timings and the, you know, the nuances that the director had imparted.
And again, that's an individual chapter thing, but one of the cultures I've already been able to mostly change for Choo Choo was every time they heard a pitch, they began to hum and find their note. And I said, guys, look, if you can hum the notes that's being pitched, the note that you just heard, then it's there. Don't hum it out loud because you just assume the pitch responsibility for the whole chorus. And so we've been even this past Thursday night in the building. I don't know what's happening online. A couple of times the pitch was blown, a guy would make a noise. I said, stop, let's do it again. We're still changing that culture. And so as a chorus, back to your goals, if the director has really good learning techniques, then you may want to devote time for that director to teach notes. But one of the things I've encouraged our guys, at the minimum, know the notes and the words. And to do that, they need learning tracks. So again, they talked about it briefly, but the BHS website has gotten a lot easier. I don't know what the new member center is going to look like, but have you guys, let me show you something that just came out in case you missed it. Let me go back to my webpage here and then come back and share another website for you. And this should have come in an email, but they've come out with a Serenade songbook, digital songbook that for $200, it's got all of the typical, it's got 12 songs, PDF. I don't know if it's 12 songs. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs, have all the learning tracks, every unlimited copies, everything you need for your chapter, specifically designed for the
Singing Valentine's.
thank you. Those 2 words eluded me. It's right there too. But just it's a resource. Choo Choo Chorus bought the same kind of resource at Christmas time we bought it in November. That was all the Yuletide favorites, unlimited. It was the same price. We got the whole book, unlimited digital downloads, unlimited hard copies, all the learning tracks. They had some of that, but they didn't have proof that they had purchased all of that. And so we intentionally went and bought all that so that we would be for sure legal on all that stuff. And that's the last thing on this list. is copyright and mechanical license. That's your responsibility. There was a church years ago in North Georgia that the copyright people got wind of, and they came in and they were fined hundreds of thousands of dollars because what they were doing was buying one choir book and then making 50 or 60 copies of it. And so, guys, you want to make sure that you have the legal copies of everything, learning track, music. And if you don't get it right, send a whatever you have to do. Again, updating your unpublished library is what the BHS is doing. It'll take them some time. They've done a lot of that even since this slide was created a few years ago. Ensure your legality in all aspects. You may even designate somebody as a job to do that. We're using 40 copies of Let Me Call You Sweetheart. Are they all legal copies? Just little stuff like that falls under your responsibility, even if you don't do it.
Jimmy, could you please explain the difference between the published and unpublished libraries as it relates to copyright?
Well, I can tell you.
Or can you, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I can tell you what I know. Published arrangements are those things that either the Barbershop Harmony Society has published, they're available on their website, or somebody has published, and that typically means certain fees relative to that are covered in the purchase of that published arrangement. Unpublished arrangement would be if I call Clay Hine and I know that he arranged a song for a specific chorus or quartet that I heard, and I want to get permission of that unpublished version, then I may pay him an arranger's fee, but that does not give me permission. That does not cover all of my copyright permissions for that song.
Okay.
Unless, and he will typically, I don't know if everybody else does this, he will typically send me those forms when I order something from him that I then have to make sure I've got copyright clearance to perform that song in public. And on the Barbershop website, it typically will say this is a published arrangement, this is an unpublished arrangement. There's more responsibility on your end to make sure you can perform the song from a legal aspect, a copyright clearance aspect, and a mechanical license aspect if it's an unpublished arrangement. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so when you're searching for something, if you see two similar arrangements, one's published, one's unpublished, if you can do the published one, it saves you a lot of headache. That's your responsibility, by the way. If you can't say, well, I just didn't know, if you go out and perform a song you don't have clearance for.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
That's the limited knowledge I have. There's probably more involved to it, but that makes a big difference on, again, if you're trying to choose between two songs and one of them's published and one of them's not, you may have just got your answer. So,
Yep.
okay, good. Let's move right along. The course director, part of his job is all the aspects of the chapter music program. Again, earlier we talked about the difference between a chapter and a chorus. The chorus is under the chapter. The music director is specifically responsible for the music or the chorus part of the chapter. He's to develop a music program based on long-range goals and selects section leaders. Let him do that. If you're in the process of hiring a director, which two of you choruses are, if you have currently section leaders, I would help. This is what I would do. You don't have to do it. Communicate to them that they are considered temporary as per the director's wishes. It just gives him the flexibility. There's been a couple of churches we've served where we went in and I didn't have a choice of who's going to get to play the piano. Sometimes that was very difficult, right? And so it's kind of the job of the chorus director to rely on the section leaders at times. So give him some flexibility there. He or she is to develop weekly music plan for the chapter meeting and responsible for how that goes. I, as the director, I consider myself responsible for whoever I put in front of the chorus? Is this a person that would teach the chorus something that I wouldn't teach them? Maybe not that they would be wrong and I'd be right, but it would be different and it might mess them up. Does that make sense? It's got to be somebody I trust. Let them do that. Don't come in and say, well, my second cousin's third wife from his second marriage is a great chorus director. He's going to be in town. I need to let him teach a tag. What if that guy comes in and just in 10 minutes destroys everything your director's tried to do for the hour before that? So you want to be very particular about giving him the freedom to put people in front of the chapter or the chorus. So, and help him to avoid chapter politics. Gosh, I can't stress this enough. They attend board meetings if requested. I'm requested by the board at the Choo Choo Chorus to attend. They want me there. They want my input. I think it's because I'm old and they think I know something. When I was young director, I didn't get invited to a lot of board meetings. And so I think that depends on your board and your director. But if it's vital to the functioning of a chapter, have them there. If they have questions, have them there. This last board meeting that our board had, half the guys were on Zoom, half were in the building again at the funeral home. One of the cool things about practicing in the funeral home is that you feel like you'll never get an audience as dead as the one in the funeral home. But anyway, I had it on my calendar for 7 o'clock, and I got there a little before 7 and actually started at 6. And I found out they'd spent the whole hour talking about me, and I'm like, well, I wish I'd have been here, but it turned out to be good for me. So that depends on each chapter. But I would say before you hire a director, make sure they're open to at least coming to those board meetings. If they say, well, I don't want to be a part of that, then that would be something you need to iron out beforehand. So we've looked at the mission statement, the leadership team working together. Let's talk about planning and budgeting. Now, here we go. Planning and budgeting. So one of the things you may want to do, and this is very difficult right now, but late fall or even now, get your music team together and plan the calendar. Right now, you can't do that, but plan. What do we want to do this year? What are some things we want to accomplish? What's some things we did in the past that we've forgotten? Kind of plan that out. Get with your director to plan that agenda and some ideas. Have that before the budget time. So that if you have, like Peter mentioned a while ago, they purchased 40 microphones. Well, that's probably not something they had budgeted for a year ago because they didn't know, right?
Right.
And so if you know those kind of things, plan for them and budget for them, but be flexible because some things come up. Like this year is all about flexibility. We found a resource for our church it's called Text in Church. And there's a thing our people sign up for called Loop. They text the word Loop to this number. And every time it's a last minute communication thing. Like if it snows on Saturday night and we have to cancel church, we'll send that out on Loop. This past year, we've used that more than we had the 3 years we had it before because things have changed all the time. So that's an additional expense that the first year we didn't budget for. So establish, renew, or review and renew long-term goals. What are the long-term goals of the chapter? You may need to change your chapter goals on a regular basis. That's okay, but communicate that. Review your year's musical program and your progress. What worked last year? Look at your Zoom meetings, for instance. What went really well? What failed? Having that guy from Chattanooga wasn't good for our North Georgia guest that 1 week. What worked? What didn't? What are things we can do? Go outside the box, talk amongst yourselves, call other chapters, find out what people are doing that's worked. What did we accomplish? Did we reach our goals last year? Did we reach our objectives? What can we do better? Was our music okay? One of the things that that I did early with the Choo Choo guys is sit down because I've heard them sing a lot. So I'll go back and think, did that song they had in their current repertoire fit their chorus? Some of those things we've changed. Um, does the music fit our chorus? I would rather sing a not so great arrangement really well than a really great arrangement sorry. Does that make sense? And so you have to
Yes.
evaluate, you have to, along with the chorus director, have to evaluate that. We had a guy, I think it was Tom Riggle, that contacted me last couple of weeks after I was your guest, Jake. Said, hey, our quartet heard the arrangement of Always that your quartet did. We're looking at it. He asked me some questions about it because we made some changes. He said, do you think it'll fit our quartet? I said, that I can't answer that question. If it's out of your range as a lead, then it won't fit your quartet. I don't care how much you want to sing it, right? And so does it fit your chorus? Are you tenor heavy? Are you bass heavy? What works? So review and then evaluate your performance. Do you guys videotape your performances?
Yes.
Great, because that gives you, thank you, Paul. Paul just sent me a thing that said there's a video by Janice Bain on barbershop.org that gives more information on published versus unpublished. That should be in the chat, guys, if you see that. You can
Oh,
look that
okay.
up. So that's great because that probably means I didn't clearly explain it, or there's a much better explanation than what I gave you. So in this yearly planning meeting, you want to plan the musical calendar. Like with Jim, we're going to try to introduce 4 songs this year. So we're going to space those out. You don't want to really try to introduce 4 new songs at one time. It makes it a lot harder. And then develop a budget. Anything about this planning idea that you guys have used in the past that worked, didn't work? Any thoughts from you?
Well, there's a lot there. Evaluating performance standards. We tried that in 2018, and I thought we did it very well. We actually attained some high scores at the contest.
Good.
Constantly evaluating performance standards.
And that's good. One of the things that
Okay.
you can do is evaluate your community performance versus your contest performance. Make sure those look alike, because when you represent yourself in the community, you really want it to be as good or better than your contest, because those are the people that are going to hire you. Those are the people that are going to get you to come back. I mean, they're going to have an impression of you. And so because a lot of times we spend sometimes too much time on 2 contest songs instead of making our whole song selection to that level. So evaluate like this year's contest compared to last year's contest. Even if you got a lower score, it may be better because you had a different panel of judges, right? And so together with your director, you can say, well, this was better here. We sang this at the Civic Center. This was better. This we can improve. And so there's ways you can make that better, make it work for you. But I would have a spouse or somebody record your public performances. I would record rehearsals. Let's run through this song and record it when you're able to get back together and show it to the guys. Hey, you thought you were smiling here. That doesn't look like a smile. So just ways you can help there. Good question. Good comment, Pete. Anything else? All right. Planning the musical calendar. Let's go through this quickly. You guys have done this. Look at the year. Are you going to do shows again? This is all contingent on getting back together. Retreats. Have you guys ever done a barbershop chorus retreat?
Not our chapter.
No.
Have you ever participated in one?
No.
When AVP partnered with Heralds of Harmony from the fall of 2017 to the contest in 2018, we did 2 or 3 retreats together with them. One was in Valdosta and one was in Gainesville. For them, Valdosta was about halfway. It was a little far. It was a little more than halfway for me. Both of those were. But we spent a Friday night, Saturday retreat, and it really helped us get to know them get to know us. And it was really good. And I would just say, if you guys could, when we're able to get back to some sense of normalcy, take a Saturday morning. I took our church choir downtown Chattanooga one Saturday morning, not long after we'd been here. And we just spent the morning together. We went through the songs for Christmas. This was in August. All the new songs we were doing for Christmas. We did some vocal stuff, but it was mostly just about getting to know people outside the class. And so consider that for something you may do, maybe your first gathering back together when all that happens. Just have a Saturday morning, just have a retreat. You guys could go. There's a ton of places in the Atlanta area where you could rent a space for a day and just have a retreat. Are we going to do schools? Our standard operating procedure reviews, competition, singing Valentine's. Any guys plan on doing singing Valentine's this year at all?
No, it looks like, you showed the new music for the Valentines, but at the same time this week they released some email that came across talking about the singing Valentines. The upshot that they said was, don't do them this year in person.
What, David, you had your hand up?
Yeah, we've been talking with AVP about doing something jointly. I think where they would do the singing Valentine, but we would be able to share that with some of our
Okay,
our clients and do that sort of thing. So
great. Pete, what about you guys?
We had some success at Christmas with Quadraphonics Christmas card. So we're going to duplicate that for our singing Valentines. It's a video card.
Yeah, that's what we actually did. We would have done more if I had not gotten sick. We have an arrangement with a law firm here that buys 30 to 40 singing Valentines every year. So we know we're going to have a fairly successful year, obviously pre-pandemic. But for Christmas, even this past time, they purchased some Christmas singing grams where Blazek's Quartet Forecasting Chords, they went and sang Christmas carols bought by this law firm. They wore a mask. They separated distance. They'd been practicing. So they went and performed publicly for 18, I think, places. It was almost $1,000 revenue for the chapter that they represented the chapter, and they sang Christmas telegrams. Our plan at this point for Valentine's, if any guys want to do that, our Valentine coordinators already started contacting. We're going to get a quartet to come and do what you mentioned, Pete, a videogram so normally our fee structure has been $50 if we can come anytime, $75 if it's a 4-hour window, or $100 if it's a 2-hour window or smaller. So we're going to do these for $20 or $25. We can make one, and then we've already had 10 or 12 people sign up for that. We're going to make one really good quality video, have it ready to email, and $25 fee. So that's what we're looking at doing. If we have, may or may not do on site, but we are kind of planning in that direction. Again, not to ignore what the society has, I think, encourage us to do, not mandate us to do. But I did hear about that. I didn't see it, but I did hear about that, Jake. So again, repertoire right now is difficult because you don't know.
So we made $800.
Huh?
We made $800 from those cards.
Yeah, that's great. that's revenue you would not have gotten otherwise. How much did y'all charge for those, Pete? Peter?
Like you said, 20, $25.
Yeah, that's great. So again, recruitment, orientation, and retention is very hard. But when you guys had members coming or visitors coming, did you have a plan from the moment they stepped in the building to that first time they left and follow up thereafter? Did you guys
Nothing
have a,
written.
huh?
Nothing written.
Okay. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but there, again, you can't expect a guy to show up, not have any interaction with him, and then just expect him to return. You need some kind of written plan for coaching. Are we going to bring coaches in? Are we going to do community education? Are we going to do youth outreach, senior outreach, quartet activity, chapter meetings? All that goes into your musical calendar. What goes into your repertoire? Again, you can put this in your planning session. You got shows, you got competitions, you got other kinds of sing outs, things that are part of a normal repertoire opener, easy beat, swing tunes, ballads, novelties, patriotic tunes, spiritual tunes, comedy, might have something with the solo. A good opener and a good closer will go a long way. Theme packages and visual responsibilities, music suitable to the chorus and or performer. Like you wouldn't want a bass to sing a tenor solo necessarily, or a lead solo. Sources here, you guys may have other, but again, the Barbershop Harmony Arrangement Catalog, again, they do have legal unpublicized arrangements. And again, you have to look at all that specifics. They used to have, I don't know if they still do a music premiere program.
No, I
Or-
think they stopped it, but it's still
Yeah.
available, the old ones. You can get
Okay.
them.
And then have you guys seen the free music that you can get off the website? There's some free music there. They have collections, and then they even have some show scripts. I downloaded some show scripts early on when I thought we might actually have a show last year. And some of them are pretty good. You got to adapt for you guys. Anything on budgeting there? Anything else? I mean, on planning your repertoire? Again, I would primarily get input from a director on that. So I wouldn't add a lot at this time if you're without a director, because you may add something that he says, I ain't directing that song, or she does. And then you might have a different director. But anyway. So budgeting, director fees and expenses, obviously music. This is all in your area of the budget. Schools and training. I would seriously, your chapters without a director right now, I would budget sending them to Harmony University. I would have that in the budget, especially if they're new, and if they're not new, I would have it in the budget. Schools and training, whatever those are. Are you going to do tapes, downloads? Incidentally, under a legal copyright issue, a download costs just as much as making a CD.
Downloads, well, we've found that downloads are like a 9/10 of a cent, whereas the tapes or the CDs are 50 cents at the least, and can vary up to a couple of dollars.
Well, it depends on how many songs are on there, but they're about 9 or 10 cents a song, right?
Yeah, I mean, we found that we buy one CD and then buy the reproduction license, and it costs, the CD might cost us $80, and the license costs us another $5.
So here's the only point of all that, whatever it costs. If you have a guy that wants a CD and a download, you have to pay for both of those.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
And
Whatever that.
we're at the point where people don't want CDs.
Yeah,
the
that's
physical
great.
CDs anymore. Yeah.
That's great. I have very few choir members that want them anymore, but I'll
Yep.
say, if you want a CD, send me an email. And I had one that said, yeah, I want a CD. So I have to make sure I pay for that as well. For me, in church choir music, it's all the same price. So are you going to bring in outside coaches? There is, or there was, I don't remember if this is still the case. I think it is, some kind of district coach reimbursement. If you get a coach from our district, the district will help pay for that. Are you going to have a retreat, have a bunch of uniforms? What are you going to pay for conventions? Some choruses do help their chapters. We have a Sunshine Fund in the Choo Choo chapter that helps, specifically designed to help members who can't afford to go to district. Like it pays their convention registration fee or whatever they might need. So just things to consider for that. So again, I've got 8.5 minutes left in this section. We may go ahead and start this section. Recruiting, orientation, and retention. So recruiting, again, goes back to chapter goals we talked about. Start with, if you're like, one of the things we're trying to do as a Choo Choo chorus is, as we get back together, I will make personal attempts to local ministers of music, local colleges, singers. We're looking for younger singers so that we can become a younger chorus overall. That's one of our chapter goals. So it's going to be, that's going to change the way we recruit. How big should our chapter be? Again, difference between chapter and chorus, but there are chapters that are perfectly content with the guys they have, and that's okay. But that's going to affect your recruiting because you're not going to have to do it, right? Who should we pursue? The minimum standard is he breathing? I tell our folks, I do have an audition for our church choir, and it's very simple. I tell them, take their one hand, hold it like this, take your two fingers right here. If you feel anything right there, you just passed your choir audition. And that's for our church choir. But I think we need to be, since we're an a cappella performing group, we do need to have some minimum standards for the chorus part of our chapter. And again, that's two different things. Do you have guest nights? What are those prospect member expectations? When a guy comes in, what do you give him? Make sure he's got music for that night. Tell him who you are as a chapter. Direct him to your website if you have one. Make sure all the information's right. The second time he comes, you may want to say, here's what we expect from our prospective members. If you become a member, here are the fees. Here's what we expect from you. What our chapter expect from you? Those kind of things. And do you guys do voice placement and or auditions?
No.
We do voice placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we leave that up to the director.
Yeah, and I think at a minimum, just singing along, saying, just kind of give them an idea where to go. Again, that can be in a room with just the director so that they're not embarrassed.
Yeah. We have voice with her.
Yeah. So, but some chapters do auditions, some don't. And that's, again, goes back to your chapter goal and or your course goal. Again, I have known of some chapters who have guys that don't, they want to, they're in it for just the fellowship, the harmony. They don't want to sing. They don't even want to go sing at a sing out. They want to be active in the chapter. Well, that's fine. Give them some things, give them some other things to do and have specific riser time where maybe they're not on the risers. Maybe the competing chorus or the public performance chorus. Maybe you've got three. You got guys that don't want to do it. You got guys that want to sing in public. You got guys that don't want to compete or that just want to compete. And so you may have to structure that based on your chorus, and that's okay. I think everybody can fit together if we can figure out a way to do it. Because if a guy is starving for fellowship, which one of the things I really have believed all along that's been proven during this time, from what I consider a reliable source, God said it's not good for man to be alone. And I think we've proven these last 10, 12 months that being alone is not good. And I think whenever we're able to gather back again, you're going to see some guys just show up because they're tired of being alone. And how we treat those guys, whether they can sing or not, is vitally important to the reputation we may have in the community. Does that make sense? So how
Yeah,
we handle
course.
that's important. And it
Of
ultimately
course.
reflects our district and ultimately reflects our hobby as a whole. All right. Elements of orientation and retention. One of the things that I think is important is a buddy program, like assign a guy on the risers, develop within your risers, guys who are willing to take on new guys. Say Joe shows up and Jake is a mentor, and Joe, would you go stand by Jake? We think Joe's going to sing tenor. Um, Jake's not the best tenor we have, but go stand by Jake, and he's your mentor. That gives some accountability right there. And then if Joe doesn't come back next week, Jake's the first guy that contacts him. So, hey man, I enjoyed singing with you last week at rehearsal. Missed you this week. Are you remotely interested in coming back? But develop a routing form for that so that when you assign Jake that new person, Jake knows it. And as music VP, you know it. And then you follow up and say, I noticed Joe wasn't back. Jake, did you contact him? So that there's a process. Is there riser placement? As I think that to me should be solely left up to the director, but there still needs to be a process for that. Society, do you teach new guys your chapter history and our society history? I think that's cool information to pass on. Do you provide for them continuous music education, choreography education? If you're going to implement any kind of moves or choreography, like I know AVP and I know Big Chicken used to have a set of terms. If the director says this, here's what that means. You got to provide that to a new guy. If you say down the tiles, he doesn't know what the heck that means. Standard riser position may be something. You got to tell them what that is. You got to communicate. Do you celebrate first performances? You go out and sing in the community, and this is Joe's first public performance. Do you know that beforehand? As a director, at the minimum, I will usually say, whose first performance is this? And you celebrate that so that you got guys that you celebrate those kind of things. Celebrate birthdays, celebrate milestones, tracking attendance. Do you know if a guy's been gone 3 weeks in a row? Some kind of accountability so that you don't lose guys. Are we giving them what they want? If we could retain who we recruit, we wouldn't have a membership problem. How many guests have we had that just show up and we don't have a clue if they'll ever come back, don't remember their name? One of the things that has helped me was 30 something years ago, had a guy help me learn and memorize names. And you'd be surprised how many church visitors we have that come back the second week and I call them by name and it's like, how'd you know us? Well, you told me last week. And it's just part of what makes them feel important and that you care is by taking the time to do that. And so we'll stop right here because I got less than a minute. But what are you guys doing quickly from a retention standpoint that maybe you feel is directly important or relative to your music team part and or membership part?
Well, one of the things we do when we have somebody new is usually after, either at a break or after the rehearsal, the few of us will get together with that guy and just do a very, very simple tag.
Yeah.
Four-part harmony, because the first time you ever stand with 3 other guys and you sing in that 4-part harmony and you get to hear that, yeah, right. You're hooked.
Yeah, that hooks
Yeah.
them. Yeah, it hooks them. And so we've got less than 60 seconds now. But yeah, I think anything you can do to encourage that and get guys to be a part of that is always helpful. So we've got another.
It helps the members too.
It
Yeah,
does. It does.
Yeah, it's great.
Plus you may want to use different guys in that, not use the same 3 guys and just maybe swap out, get 2 guys that really feel confident and a guy maybe in your own chapter right now that doesn't feel confident to give him a chance to do that. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll leave the breakout room and then we'll be back in a little bit.
Jim,
All right, I
Jimmy,
just-
you're mute. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, just hit the record button again. So we are recording again. And let me see if I can go back and share my screen where we were. We don't have very many slides left, so that's good. We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about, but
Peter, you're muted in case you were trying to talk.
All right, thanks.
all right. So I think we were here, monitored progress of new members as a function of retention. Retaining visitors is hard for some chapters. Other chapters seem to find. One of the things I've found out is once that snowball starts, it accumulates, but it's hard to get it to start sometimes. So, and it's obviously hard to do without a director, I think. Let's move on to music team working with membership team. Again, we lost our membership guy, but you may want to have a rookie school where all the new guys is for a defined period. Your rookies, here's a minimum. We want you to learn the chorus repertoire, Barber Polecats, harmony classics, whatever that is. Get some specific vocal training. Do you have a 3 to 6 month period where new guys go through certain things to help them develop their vocal training or performance skills, anything like that? One of the cool things you could do even now on Zoom with all of your guys is maybe have a trivia night about the history of our society. That do you know this or did you know that? That just
Great idea.
Yeah, that might be a way to, if you have a chapter historian, to learn more about your specific chapter. When was your chapter formed? How many different directors have you had? What's our best performance in district? For Big Chicken, it would be, what's the highest we've placed at international? Do you know the answer to that, Peter?
87? And what was the highest they placed?
Placement, yes.
I think it was first place. I don't know.
Nope. That's a great
Sorry.
guess, though. They do
What's the
have,
question?
what's the highest Big Chicken placed in final standings at international contest?
Third.
Third is the correct answer.
Okay.
And I'm
thank
not
you.
even in the chicken.
I know, see, Peter shouldn't even, maybe he's disqualified from the rest of this meeting.
There you go.
But I mean, things like that can be a different, we talked about ideas for Zoom earlier. That could be a different avenue just to break up the same thing that you've done.
Yeah, we can add that to the meeting.
Yeah,
Be a
Yeah.
question, just like
Yeah,
that.
something like that, just to help get something different. So anyway, when you get back to regular meetings, you could have that as part of your new member training or orientation, that you take some time. You don't give them a pamphlet this thick and say, you got to know this by next week. But part of retention is getting guys that come in at this level to guys that might be this level, right? And helping them bridge that gap at a pace that's comfortable for them, that doesn't make them say, I can't get there, or I've got to drop out, but help them get there so that they feel like they're a part of where everybody else is. Because you certainly don't want them to feel inferior for any length of time, but if they continue to feel that way, they won't stick around. And so that's part of the reason for this section under retention, is to get guys on an equal footing, or at least feel like they are. Again, a lot of that's perception of where they are relative to everybody else. Because when it comes right down to it, I mean, we're all very similar in a lot of ways, but for whatever reason, our society at the moment has chosen for us to focus on our differences rather than our things that we're alike. And so if you can get the guys to get from where they start to comfortable in relative to where everybody is, and develop a plan for that, that's not just going to happen. It will for some guys who are self-starters and self-learners, but a lot of new guys that come in are not going to do that. So if you say, maybe a guy's been in Big Chicken for 30 years. I remember when we did this in 95 in Miami. By the way, I was with them in 95 in Miami. And I don't remember a whole lot about that. I've seen that performance again recently, but guys talking about that sometimes can make other guys not feel like they belong. Does that make sense? And so anything you can
Yeah.
do to make guys feel like they're a part will help them to retain them as well. All right. So let's get down to our final thing, which is the chapter meeting, which all of this is typically designed for an in-house meeting. So we've already through the course of this thing talked about some unique ways we can make our Zoom meetings different. But again, going back to, you could even Google unique Zoom chorus ideas, and you may pull up some barbershop choruses or doing things unique, or some church choirs that are doing things. Anything you can get some ideas from to help your Zoom meetings, and maybe get something. Maybe if you could come up with 11 unique things right now, you could introduce something unique once a month if you plan to do this for the rest of the year. Or if you come up with more, it may be every 3 weeks. Something to, the key word under 8 points to fun is variety. Plan a variety of different activities for each meeting. And that's whether you're on Zoom or in house. We mentioned having a guest come in and do the vocal warm-ups. I think it's imperative, even on Zoom, that you continue to challenge the guys to do singing. Have a craft section where you have somebody that can demonstrate some really good vocal techniques, especially because most of our chapters have guys whose musical instrument is a little older. There are things, again, you can Zoom care of the senior voice, and you'll find unique ways to help those of us who fall in the senior category to take care of our voice better. You could introduce some of those one night. Say, hey guys, we're going to, as part of our session this week on Zoom, how do I take care of my voice at age 65? What are some things I can do to help me to be able to sing better till I'm 75? That is a great opportunity on Zoom that you probably wouldn't take if you were meeting in person. As a director, it might be hard for me to give up 15 minutes for some guy to talk about that. But on Zoom, that may be a great way to spend a half an hour. Let guys answer questions, have questions. Say, no, I don't know the answer, but I'll look it up. Care of the senior voice. Fun. What are some fun things? This might be a great time on Zoom to introduce a potential repertoire song. Maybe you've been thinking about doing this song. Would the chorus guys like it? Play a song. How many of you guys like that? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Send me an email. I'll never sing that song, or I can't wait till we sing that song, or somewhere in between. That might help you develop chorus repertoire. Songs that maybe take an evaluation of current songs. You got 15 songs. Play one of them. Say, guys, send me your thoughts by email, or let's, on a score of 1 to 5. Should we keep this one? Should we discard it? You may find out a song you've been singing for 5 years, nobody likes it. Well, it makes it harder for them to sing that song successfully if they don't like it. So there's just some ideas you might can incorporate into Zoom. Craft, bring in somebody there's no way you'd have access to otherwise that can teach some barbershop craft. We had Steve, what's Steve's last name? From the Barbershop Harmony Society.
Steve Scott.
Steve Scott. We had Steve come in and do some vocal warm up and craft for us, and it was great. I mean, he specifically, by the way, he specifically has material relative to the senior voice. He did a great presentation for our chapter. Contact him through the society. He would love to do that. He did a PowerPoint presentation on care of the senior voice, what you can expect. I mean, it was a great meeting that our guys really enjoyed. Do you include a break on your Zoom meetings? We've done that twice today. just because it's hard to sit on your fanny for 2 hours. And in person, especially, have a break. Quartet activity. One of the things that North Georgia did, much to my surprise, as a guest, they played a video of our quartet singing. I thought that was a great idea, even if I didn't. I mean, I thought it was a great idea for some variety. So I don't know if you guys have seen lately, but they've started releasing videos of older quartet performances.
Yeah.
Play some of those. A lot of guys, when they get those, they don't know they're out there unless you subscribe to the Barbershop Harmony Society YouTube channel and have your notifications on. You may not even know that. But there was one that just came out. What was it? I want to look and see if I can find it.
Was that the Renegades?
Maybe it was. It just came out yesterday or today. So Long Mother was the song.
Oh, haven't seen that one.
I mean, it literally, I just got a notification about it.
Gatsby, So Long Mother. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, does it say what year it is?
It will. No.
But the other thing you can do as part of your Zoom meeting is show them how to find the Barbershop
Oh,
Harmony Society.
1985.
Yeah. Show them how to find the Barbershop Harmony YouTube channel, how to subscribe to it, how to turn on notifications. Because honestly, guys, our age and older don't have a lot of internet savvy. They have to be shown things. So you could pull up on your video here, like I've got my PowerPoint, share your screen, say, guys, go right over here, click the subscribe button, but also click the notification button so that when one of these videos comes out, you get a notification about it. Some of these guys were at these performances in 85 or 92, and it brings back a lot of it. But part of your meeting, you could be to play these videos. It really works out great. Teach new tags as part of your Zoom meeting and in-person meeting so that you constantly got short material that the guys can learn quickly. Have your president give him time in these Zoom meetings. Have time where guys are able to make comments for the good of the chapter. Our music VP, Jim Frank, his father in October found out he had a brain tumor. His father lives in Indianapolis. His mother was his father's primary caregiver. She unexpectedly died after Christmas. The mother did.
Oh.
They'd given his dad 3 to 6 months to live. Well, as part of our chapter meeting, we talked about that. Things about where you guys, anything we can help guys with. Again, to create the connection and sense of family, any of those things. A lot of that stuff you can do more now on Zoom than you would have taken the time to do in a in-chapter meeting. Because guys just show up, you sing with them, and they leave. And if they don't go to an afterglow or don't talk to them, you don't even get to know them. One of the things that AVP did on one of the calls I went through is they took 5 different guys and asked them 5 general questions, random questions. How long you been barbershop? So it helped the rest of the chapter get to know those guys better. You wouldn't take up a regular chapter meeting doing that. You just wouldn't. Hey, Jake, Standing on Risers, how long you been barbershop? That's not a question I would ask probably as a director. But on Zoom, you can take a 5-minute break. Peter, tell me your best experience in barbershopping. Do you quartet? What was your best quartet experience? So far, one of mine, Jake, you were there, was in 2019 in January, standing on the Grand Ole Opry stage, directing you guys. Oh, by the way, I got my pin on. I wore it, but when it, and that was a whole Peter don't even know that experience.
No.
But Peter, we Dixie District had 72 seniors. We formed a seniors chorus from 14 or 15 different chapters and competed in Nashville in January of 2019. And we went up there, had a great time. They let me be their director. It was a great experience. And we sang. And, and I thought it was just, we were going to get a score of great, superior, excellent, whatever it was. And Jake's heard me tell this story 2 or 3 times, but
Well, I was there.
yeah, you were there, but so Peter, we got through and I was hungry. We walked over, my family walked over. Have you ever been to the Grand Ole Opry, Jake? Peter, have you ever been there?
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Okay, so it's now, they moved it. It's now in the parking lot of the mall over there. So we walked over to the mall and it was on a cold day, much like today. And we're sitting in Johnny Rockets and I decided I would look at the program and it said awards. I thought, awards, who's getting an award? And so I told my wife, I said, I probably should walk back over there because it's getting close to this time. I don't know what they're going to hand out. I'm thinking they're going to hand out certificates of participation, you know,
Right.
those kind of things. And so I get there and Donnie Rose is on the stage talking about the Seniors Chorus Festival. I thought I need to get, and the guy wouldn't let me in the door. He said, "You can't go." I said, look, I need to go in. I feel like I need to go in. He radioed somebody and I said, tell him I'm a director of one of the choruses. I need to go in. I walked in the back door and Donnie Rose said, we had 2 chapters that scored the highest. And right now, I don't remember if it was excellent or superior. Hold on one second. Hold on, I'm gonna get the actual thing here because I keep it pretty close. And he said there were 2 choruses that scored the highest thing, and it was the Carolinas district and the Dixie district. And I was like, oh, cool. And my first thought was, I hope we scored higher than Carolinas. And Peter doesn't know because he has only been in here 8 years, but Carolinas used to be part of the Dixie district, and they
Okay.
broke off. They broke off a little while ago, and some of us still hadn't got over that. But anyway, so
They haven't been the same since.
well, so anyway, since this is being recorded, Jake, we should probably watch what we say. And so, then he said, and the winner is the champion is the Dixie District Chorus. I was like,
Yes.
champion of what? And so they called me up on the stage and they gave me this thing. You can't see it because it's clear.
Right.
It says 2019 International Seniors Barbershop Chorus Festival Champion. And then we all got these little champion pins.
Yeah, I've seen those because I've seen the guys wear them.
Yeah. So that's where that came from. And so I was this close to missing that whole announcement.
Wow.
I mean, I was that close. I just walked in the back when he started that. And so that was a great experience. We did it again last year in 2020. You have to be 55 and older. We did it in Jacksonville and we scored about the same. There were 2 choruses that beat us. One chorus from the Ozarks had 20 something guys and they worked their tail off. And it was actually a chorus that won the right to represent. And then they added 5 or 6 really good singers. They won last year. Carolinas barely beat us, but I found out they rehearsed 9 Saturdays for hours. And I think we rehearsed 2 times, Jake. I mean, did you get
Yeah,
to do it?
I think maybe 3 and only twice with the whole chorus. I mean, you had sort of an ad hoc one that people attended.
So anyway, making the chapter meeting fun. And I think looking back on it, Jake, you can attest to this. We made that a fun experience for everybody.
Absolutely.
It was enjoyable. And that's why guys wanted to do it the second time. And guys that didn't do it the first time wish they had of. And we had different guys do it the second time. We didn't have the same
Yeah,
amount. Or
we
the same
generated
guys.
some interest
Yeah, we did.
by,
So
by
anyway,
winning.
let's move on. Quartet support and development is vital, I think, to your chapter. Formal and informal. Form as many quartets as you can. Make them fun. It provides for fun for them and improvement for the individuals, as I said earlier. And it ultimately helps the chapter. Have specific quartet activities. Maybe you could get your maybe there's a quartet that is meeting together. Have them videotape one of their songs. Play it during your Zoom meeting. Barber Polecat, Harmony Classics. We used to have, years ago, we had a chart on the wall, had people's names, and then the 14 polecats across the top. And when you learned them, sang them in a quartet and qualified, you got a check. And so that's something you could have somebody submit videos of
Yeah.
that. Submit videos, learn, hey guys, learn the barber polka, submit a video, we'll pass you on it. Very large quartets is VOQs and have them participate in singing Valentine's. One of the things that I've said we're going to do, Choo Choo Chorus, and I think they've done it in the past, but we'll for sure do it. I will audition the quartets that go out and represent us as a chapter. So there's a minimum standard when somebody goes out and says they're from the Big Chicken Chorus, Choo Choo Chorus, or whatever.
Right.
That's a chorus director thing. All right, here we go. To summarize, and you guys will be done unless you want to talk about something else. So chapter mission statement, very important. Develop your music leadership team. That will look different for every chapter. Vice President, you and the chorus director working together, planning your meetings, planning your budget, planning your year. Recruiting, how do you recruit? How do you get them from this level in your chapter to equal standing with most of the guys in your chapter? And one of the things relative to that I forgot is constantly challenging your guys to be better. One of the things I told our guys in the Choo Choo Chorus was my expectation of you will always be higher than you have for yourself. Meaning that wherever they are in their level of barbershop, I think they can be better.
Sure.
And I told them from a personal level, until I get better than Tony DeRosa, I'm going to keep trying to improve. And if I get better than him, I'm going to make sure he knows it too. His dad was a great mentor of mine 30 years ago. And just great. And so anyway, recruiting, getting the guys acclimated to the chapter, and all that is involved, I think, in retention. And then we talked about the chapter meeting, which is very different on Zoom than it will be and was in person. So let me put this screen up here in case anybody looks at it. You can use the VP-music email. It's supposed to come to me. But if you want a quicker response from me, use the AT&T email, or you can text me on your phone. If you text me, just put your name on it. I think I have you guys in my phone, but if I don't, I still get a lot of spam calls from local numbers, and I don't answer them. I did win several $1 million, though. All I do is send that guy $500. He was going to send me $1 million, but I didn't respond. So let's see. I think the last one was thank you for being here today. Any questions from you guys? Any thoughts? Any wrap up?
Well, thoughts. This has been a great session. I really appreciate all the advice, and sparked a lot of ideas. And I'm going to give you a terrific evaluation.
Oh, thank you. Your check will be in the mail. Well, one thing I would say, Peter, sometimes you go back and look at something you wrote down and it doesn't make any sense. So shoot me an email and said,
Okay.
I wrote this down. I can't for the life of me figure out what we were talking about or why we wrote it down. So just shoot me an email and maybe I'll remember it too. Or you can go back and look at that portion of the video that might help you as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Any thoughts from you, Jake?
No, as usual, Jimmy, I came in with very low expectations.
Well, thank you. Hopefully I exceeded
Not
them.
because of you, because of me.
That makes the bar easy to attain.
and you far exceeded it.
Well, yay. I tell people all the time, that show that used to be, Are You Smarter Than, was it a fifth grader?
Fifth grader, yeah.
Yeah, I tell them I wouldn't go on a show that said, Are you smarter than a first grader? Because I'm not sure I could win that show either.
No, I don't mean to denigrate it, but it was probably 2 years since I took this class, and it was with you. I forget where we were, down south or your church or something, and I got a lot out of it, and I forgot that I got a lot out of it. Is the problem, and so I didn't attend the next year, and signed up because it was, I didn't have to travel to somewhere nowhere to get
Yeah.
there this year, and figured there's probably something I can learn, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
And so this has been good.
Well, and again,
I was just saying, for me in particular, this is very timely, Jimmy, because as you know, what's going on with the big chicken, we're in a transition period, and I needed this guidance at this time.
good. Well, and I think that's good because both of you guys are in the same situation, in a unique situation. Hiring a director right now has got to be very difficult.
Yeah, we've got a line on a guy that's interested, but inviting him to the Zoom is one thing, but everybody wants to know, when are we going to get together that he can actually do his work?
Well, if you could find a space big enough for guys to spread out, wear a mask, I was really amazed at how good our guys sounded wearing a mask.
Yeah.
We are looking at some singers' masks particularly, but especially clear ones that don't hide the mouth,
Oh, okay.
because part of the experience of a performance, to me, a lot of it occurs below your nose. And with a mask, you don't experience that. You can tell that I'm moving my eyes, but it's not the same experience
Right.
as a full facial experience. But there may be, here's what I would ask, are there any guys that would feel comfortable meeting in person?
Yeah, we ask that every couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
the general answer is no.
Well, and I
You
agree,
gotta
because
remember, I, with one exception, and he's only 6 months younger than I'm the youngest guy in the chapter, and we go all the way up to 93. I think Jack Bolton is now. So it's, none of these guys are yet comfortable until we all get vaccinated, and our spouses say, yeah.
I totally
it's okay.
understand that. And that's another challenge that makes it
Yeah.
hard. I was in the asthma category of cautionary, and I'm 57, but being at risk category, we tried to do everything we could not to get the virus, but I still got it, and it could have been very costly.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. And again, part of what is weird, because the Monday before Thanksgiving, and I started getting symptoms the Sunday after. That Monday we met in person, and some guys asked me about it, and my response was, well, I shared with you guys earlier about it's not good to be alone. We're all going to live. I said, we're all going to live till we die anyway. And our focus has been on living the best we can. For me personally, honoring the Lord and doing what I think he wants me to do, but living a life that's not controlled by fear and not gripped by fear, and doing what we can to live life. And at some point, either that night or before that or right after that, I came in contact with somebody, but we had not changed anything we'd done for the whole year. But I still wouldn't change that, because to me, I don't think we'll know the mental cost and emotional cost that this year has cost us long term. I know by the end of the year, suicide rates were already up. Mental health issues are going to be an issue for a long time.
Absolutely.
And so at some point, we just some of our guys made the decision, because all of those guys that are meeting in purpose with us, all would be in the at-risk category.
Yeah, that's the problem we have. That's our whole group.
Yep. They decided that's what they wanted to do. And as their director, I said, guys, I'll meet with you. And we've tried to minimize those, knowing that you can't do that. But look, we've had people that have been very careful and still got the virus.
Yep.
So I think you do what we have said as a church. Here's what we're doing. You make a decision that's best for your family, and that honors God for you, and we're not going to condemn you either way. And so it's really been helpful for our church to take that approach. So I know it's hard. I know what you guys are doing was difficult, because I don't think I would hire a director that couldn't stand in front of the chorus right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
no, I agree.
That makes it very difficult. So,
Yeah. Although I like the idea of at least inviting him to meet the guys and
Yeah.
participate at whatever level he feels comfortable, not leading, but being
Sure.
a member of the chapter.
yeah, just bring them along, let them be a guest.
Yeah.
Whatever, without the pretense of that being a possibility.
Yeah.
And so anything you can, and again, guys, as a district, and as a friend, if you guys need anything, don't hesitate to call me. As a district, we're trying to do the best we can with what we've got to work with. We have board meetings once a month now, which we were not doing. We're meeting once a month on Zoom. And so if you guys need anything, we can help your chapter. Please let us know, because it's health right now. Emotional health is very important.
It is. It is.